Hello, today we're going to be talking about the EnDeare breast pump by Hygeia. We're going to be showing you the ins and outs of the actual pump itself, as well as the personal accessory set that goes along with it, which will be used by individual moms when they're using the EnDeare pump. So walking around the EnDeare pump, we've got our green button, which is our on and off button right here. We just simply turn that on and off. As you can see, it turns green when it's got power on. This is our dial. This is going to change our pressure. It's going to change our cycle speed from the smallest line here, which would be the slow setting, all the way up to the fastest setting on the right side of the dial. Most of the time when I'm showing moms how to use this the first time, we're just going to start somewhere in the middle, gives them a little bit of pressure, a little bit of cycle speed, and then kind of work from there based on comfort. On the top of the pump, we have two wings, which actually will hold the flange when mom is getting the pump set up. I'll show you that a little later when I show you the personal accessory set. We've got two of them. On the underneath side, you'll see that we have the pertinent information for the pump. It'll have the serial number listed on the bottom, right down here, printed into the case. Serial numbers are important for not only tracking pumps to moms, but if you should have any kind of issue with the pump, Hygeia will ask for that serial number. Okay. You'll see a vent here. This vent is covered inside with a micro mesh stainless steel screen that keeps anything from going in there that you don't want going in there. So just to point that out. Backside, this area here is where we're going to wrap our cord when not in use. And then this port right here is going to be for either a battery adapter or your vehicle lighter adapter, should mom not have access to plugging it in with this hardwired plug. So I will get to this in just a few minutes and show you how to put the personal accessory set on. But I'm just going to clear my area here and show you the personal accessory set. So this is the Hygeia personal accessory set. It would be kind of difficult to see, but the part number here is actually listed on the pump. It's right in between these two. This one is a 20-0075. Your state has these. It also has a 20-0075 NF, which means no filter. This is the filter portion. This is not necessary for the EnDeare pump that I just showed you. So if you have some older inventory of the personal accessory sets, it won't have those NF initials after the part number. Again, when we open this up, we can just set this aside or discard this because your state does not need this for your pump. Okay. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and open this up. About the parts and pieces. Going to be a little overwhelming at first for you as well as the moms, but they easily show you how to get your parts and pieces that you need and separate everything else just like you would show for the mom. Okay, get those centered in the picture. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to need two bottles. Set those over there. We're going to take our other two bottles and just set them off to the side. So this is what you'll do with the moms. We've got 2 large flanges here. Okay, we're just going to set those aside. And we're going to have our 2 standard flanges right here. So we're going to use those. We've got our 2 connectors. So we're going to use these. These parts right here, these and these white caps, these are all covers for the bottles, so we don't need these. Set those aside for the moment. We'll have a couple of extra duckbill valves. We don't need those right now, so got to replace those over here. Okay, put those over there. All right, and then we're going to be left with our tubing. And as I mentioned, here's our filter. We do not need this filter, so we're just going to discard that. Last couple of items that I'll show you what these are for in a minute. We don't need these right now when we first set this up for the mom, so we're just going to set those off to the side. So now we've got a very manageable set of, we've got our tubing back here, we've got our 2 bottles, our 2 flanges and 2 flange connectors. That's our flange connector right here. I've already just put on our friction fit on our standard flange size, which is a 27. So what we simply do is before mom starts pumping for the first time, we're going to have her wash these parts and pieces right here. Okay. The tubing does not need to be washed. We don't want to get that wet. And this piece here is just moving the air. So it does not need to be washed as well. Okay. So we're going to wash these parts and pieces. We got our duckbill valves, our flanges, our connectors, and our bottles. Okay. Once they're clean and dry, we simply just screw on the bottles. There's 1. There's 2. Our tubing has a little clear rubber band on it, so we'll just take that out, get that off. Again, no need to wash our tubing. We don't want to get that wet. Got 2 ends of the tubing here. We got our orange adapters, and we've got the clean cut tubing right here. So we're going to take our orange adapters. We're going to plug it into the back of the flanges. There's a hole right there. Just push that in. It is going into a plastic. So it just pushes right in, stays in place. Do the other side here, same way. See the little hole down there. Plug this in. That in place. Then if we look at our piston, see if we can get a better non-glaring picture here. There's bars up here, they're raised. The more the bars, the higher the pressure is going to be. So what we want to do is we want to start mom on the lowest pressure. So we're going to dial it down to where there's only 1 little raised bar. And again, I apologize, this video is probably not picking that up, but just put it where there's 1 circle raised dot. Okay. This piece right here determines whether moms can single pump by just plugging 1 tubing in and using this to cap off the other. We're going to show you how to double pump today. So we're going to put 1 tubing on each post. And those again are just friction fit. So we just slide that on. Slide on the other side. Okay, now this is the next important step right here. So this piece right here, this little raised piece, I'll show it to you at the angle. Okay, this little raised piece right here is important when we're putting this onto the pump, and I'll show you why. Grab my pump, slide that forward. Okay, so this groove is going to go right into this groove. And the way we do that is we're kind of going to turn it this way. And then just rotate. Wiggle that into place. What that does is that locks this into place. And again, this little tab right here is going right into that groove. Okay, that'll make this flush. The orange piece here will be flush with the body of the pump. You see there's no gap in there. If you don't do that, you'll notice a gap right in here, okay? And that's what we don't want. So we just simply raise this up, put it right into that groove. We're set to go. Told you I was going to show you the kind of the overhead shot of what that looks like. This again is just for mom's getting herself ready for pumping. She can put these here, that'll hold it into place, you know, hold it into place like that when she's ready to pump. So at this point, kind of reviewing the features on the pump, we got our on and off button here. We've got our speed dial here, and we've got our pressure here. So the mom would simply turn the pump on, grab her two flanges, start pumping, and then adjust pressures. And she can adjust speed. You can see the difference in the speed there. All right, so mom finishes her pumping session. She's going to shut her pump down. She'll take her bottles and flanges here, remove one tubing. She'll remove the other tubing. Because there should only be air moving through this tubing and no milk getting into here. So she would just leave these parts and pieces on the pump after she finishes pumping. Then she would take these pieces. If there's milk in there, she would pour that into maybe a storage bag or use one of the caps from the bottles, which is right there, cap that off and store the breast milk. Okay. So after the milk is out, she's going to, wash these in hot soapy water. That's actually the preferred method. What we highly recommend is that they have a little plastic basin, whether it's a piece of, Tupperware big enough to hold all these parts and pieces, something other than just the sink. Okay, I believe we had a glitch. So what we want to do is take these apart. So these 4 pieces times 2 with our other flange over here, put them in hot soapy water. A lot of people will use a brush to get in these parts and pieces and these nooks and crannies here. And then when they're finished, rinse them with, cold water is fine. And then they'll place down a towel, something dry, turn this upside down, and then just allow those to air dry. Okay. We're going to do that times 2. taking this unit apart. All right. So let me talk about the other parts and pieces that we included. The reason we put those parts and pieces in was basically because of contracts. We wanted moms to have a couple of different choices of flanges. So our extra parts and pieces that we slid to the side, these are just larger flanges. They can be easily switched out. Maybe mom would need a larger size on one and then the standard size on the other. That's fine. Again, kind of showed you, we've got 4 caps and then these 4 lids that go on there. So we got 4 of those for our bottles. We've got our extra valves. Okay. These are offset valves. I showed you what we have on here now is our duckbill valves. Okay, so every time that the pump cycles, so if mom is pumping at a high rate of speed of 70 plus cycles a minute, this is opening and closing with every cycle. Okay, so since the valve is sitting this way, milk is dropping from the flange into the bottle below. And as you can see, that opening is not real big. So if the mom has a big milk supply or a copious milk supply, that may not drop all the milk into the bottle fast enough. Let me show you here. Better illustration for you. So if she's cycling, 70 cycles a minute, that's not going to allow the milk to drop through. That's where these valves come into play. Okay, these, because of their design, they open widely. Thus, they drop more milk faster. So if moms get any kind of bubbling up in here of the milk, they'll want to slow down the dial on the pump, which is that orange dial. Slow it down a little bit, allowing more time for the milk to process through, and then use these valves, these offset valves. And here again, we can use one duckbill on one side and one of these on the other. These are gonna not have as much pressure on the high end as these. That's by design, just so you know that, okay? Then if they're using these, they're simply going to take these apart and hand wash them. There's a little piece right there that just pops in. When they're finished washing that, they can just put that together. Okay. Again, here's our filter. We don't need this filter with this particular EnDeare pump, so we can just discard that. The last thing I want to show you are 2 orange reducers. They have this funny shaped thread on here. Okay. So these are for using a standard bottle size, or standard bottle thread, I should say. So we got our duckbill valve on here. Okay. You can see this is a wide mouth bottle, so it's pretty wide here. A lot of the bottles have that standard thread, so it's going to be, the opening on the bottle is going to be a little bit smaller, and that's what this reducer does. This orange reducer screws onto the flange and allows moms to use other bottles that maybe aren't the Hygeia bottles. So if they have standard bottles left over from the first baby, maybe an 8-ounce bottle or something like that, that could use that universal thread and put that right on there. Okay. Here's a Hygeia standard bottle. That just screws on there like that. Okay. Again, you can see the difference between the standard and the wide mouth. All right, well, that concludes my tutorial today for the EnDeare breast pump and the personal accessory set. Please, if you have any questions, contact your breastfeeding coordinator, and she would be happy to share my contact information with you. With that, I thank you so much and hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you.